The state's largest school district might be one step closer right now to being overtaken by the Texas Education Agency. The state Supreme Court this month cleared the way for the state to move in and take over Houston ISD. But what might the ramifications be on this? This is an issue that State Senator Paul Betancourt is watching closely. We reached him about it at his office in Houston. Senator, it's good to see you again. Let's talk about the state Supreme Court this month clearing the way for the TEA to take over Houston's independent school district there. Do you expect now that that legal hurdle has been moved, that the TEA will actually move and go forward and take over HISD?
Well, it's clearly a huge case because the bill that I authored, Senate Bill 1365, was referred to multiple times in the ruling. And basically, as you said, it does plow the road. It allows the TEA to take over the state's largest school district. But it's going to be up to the TEA Commissioner, Mike Morath, to make that decision.
What strikes me about this case is, this goes back to 2019 when the TEA and the Commissioner, Mike Morath, were looking at HISD, and they were, upset about the dysfunction on the board members at the time, and they were concerned. He was also concerned about Phyllis Wheatley High School, which was had failing grades. HISD is a huge district. That Wheatley has now improved its
Sure.
grades. They're compliant now. The board has turned over. Hasn't this problem fixed itself?
The problem is simply this: you can't let the state's largest school district continue to fail. Now, while we're on, compared to the bottom that we were on, yes, we're up a little by measurement. But again, we're going to have dozens of schools that are probably going to be on the improvement required list, in this next round of a grading cycle. And really, you got to look for the future because we've had a tremendous enrollment drop at HISD. And it's important that HISD function. No matter what, HISD needs to be fixed.
Senator, you were reappointed to chair the Senate Committee on Local Government. You're going to have lots of influence, like you did last session, on property taxes. The Lieutenant Governor told us that he supports raising the homestead exemption up to $70,000 from its $40,000 mark now, which would reduce what we pay. Could something like that get passed in the Texas House and land on the governor's desk?
It is. It already has. Like in 2021. In the last special session, an increase from 25,000 to 40,000 was passed, and the voters approved it last year in a May election.
But this is reliant on the surplus money, and I'm sure everyone has different ideas on how to spend that.
Well, I think that property tax relief is way high on everybody's agenda at this point. The bill that I carried last time that did that passed unanimously in both houses. It's completely bipartisan. I expect this bill from going from 40,000 to 70,000 to also pass with overwhelming majorities. And these are huge savings for an average Dallas ISD home, wherever it is in Dallas ISD for the rest of your life. You'll save $826 per year. And that's an additional $355 because of this increase already on top of what was there before. So exemptions are very powerful tools to help keep homeowners in their homes. And we're looking at business exemptions as well, because you need to have a balanced plan between home and business exemptions going forward.
Last time we spoke, Senator, we talked about the Harris County Elections Office and the continued problems there, like we saw in November, not enough ballot paper at some 20 different voting locations. How do you expect the state legislature is going to address the issues at the Elections Office there in Harris County?
One of the big debates we're already having with is whether or not to have an elections administrator and give it back to the elected officials, the county clerk to do the elections and the tax assessor to do the voter registration.
Would that be a carve out for Harris County or statewide?
No, that would be, we'll start off, at an urban area, with a carve out. But I think that's one bill that's going to be filed. There's going to be bills raising criminal penalties. If you're sitting on ballot paper in the warehouse and you don't until 3 o'clock decide that you have to get ballot paper out to presiding judges that are screaming for help, borrowing paper from other polls. I think instead of a Class C misdemeanor, it may be an A or state jail felony. It's crazy to have this type of response in the 21st century in the nation's third largest county. And Harris County is too big a chunk of the electorate in Texas to ignore it.
Senator, we always appreciate the time.
Anytime. Thanks, Jay.